Well, as Cardinals fans, we had the first big piece of offseason news for St. Louis, as formerly known as catcher Willson Contreras is now the Cardinals' first baseman / DH going into the 2025 season. What is the implications of this, right? Like, what does it mean that Wilson's staying in St. Louis? Once staying in St. Louis is going to now move positions. What does this mean for Ivan Herrera and Pedro Pages, Luke and Baker and Alec Burleson, the overall roster construction? What does it mean for other players we thought could be traded? Payroll. There are so many implications of this, and it's only like 2 days into the GM meetings. We're going to talk about all this and more on this episode of Deal in the Cards. Welcome back to the Deal in the Cards podcast, sponsored by 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. We are a St. Louis Cardinals podcast. We go live twice a week, and we also have some other fun kinds of content out there as well. So if this is your first time checking us out, like and subscribe. Helps the channel a ton. We actually have a giveaway we're going to talk about later that I really think you'll want to be a part of. You'll need to be subscribed for that. But yeah, the big news today, we were kind of talking, like, Andrew, you joked about before the chat, like, what are we going to talk about today? There's not, like, feels like we're kind of beating a dead horse. And now we've got real news. So Willson Contreras, the first baseman. Sandy, you saw the news. How did that hit you?
I mean, I think it's big because I think, as someone who just doesn't want to watch a team fully rebuild, and people were talking about that, the Cardinals are going to be more competitive if Willson Contreras is in the lineup every day. It also means Herrera is going to play every day, which I think is awesome moving forward. And it also means any chance of a Paul Goldschmidt reunion is gone, which I think is good for the Cardinals too. Even if it was going to come at a discount, it's not happening now. Paul Goldschmidt will not be a Cardinal. It's tough because his career here ended in such an unsatisfying way, but let's not forget he won an MVP. He made a couple All-Star teams. He carried a team to the NLCS. So I don't know. A lot of stuff here. I think in the long run, this is something that I'm excited about. I love Willson Contreras. I love the edge he plays with. I love how productive his bat is. And I love the fact that the Cardinals, I think, are going to win a few more games now next year. And I think it's less unrealistic now to say, hey, maybe they compete for a third wildcard spot than it would have been if Willson Contreras was shipped out of St. Louis.
Yeah. Andrew, how'd the news hit you?
At first, I thought it was kind of weird because I thought the Cardinals were for sure going to move Willson Contreras. And it seems like you kill his value if you're just like, oh, he's a first baseman from now on. And then I was like, wait, no, they're actually going to keep him. And that was when I got actually excited. And I was like, this team might not be so bad next year. And obviously, if you did move Willson Contreras, maybe you're more competitive in 2026. But also, you're going to be really bad in 2025 if you don't have a bat like that in the lineup. Obviously, great things for Ivan Herrera. I hope they don't mess that up again with Pedro Pages playing like more than Herrera. That's hopefully should not be happening from here on out. I think Contreras is a great catcher. I think he has value there, but obviously you're preserving his bat for longer because if he was the first baseman this year, he wouldn't have gotten hurt, right? He had both of his injuries this season were as the catcher, like during the game defensively, got hit by swings, and that just isn't going to happen anymore, hopefully. With him at first base, you're preserving him long term, and clearly it seems like he wants to be here with the team, and so does Sonny Gray. Notably, another Cardinals player was not mentioned on that list as wanting to be here, but we'll get into that further on. But yeah, I think I'm excited to see what he's got at first base. Obviously, Goldie's out. It's fine. I think we knew that anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe this forces the Cardinals to maybe build a competitive roster in 2025. Maybe sign some of those flyer arms. We always talk about Walker Buehler, but that's not going to happen anymore. Maybe some other guys.
Yeah. Well, okay. So first thing is, like, it's huge that Willson Contreras wants to stay in St. Louis. Like that's the thing that I'm like, this is like, he should be the favorite. I mean, I'm never going to tell people who their favorite player should be, but if Willson Contreras is not one of your favorite Cardinals right now, I don't know who you like. What are you thinking? Like, this dude had every right to ask out, want to go to a contender. He's sick of how the Cardinals have treated him as a catcher. Instead, he accepts the assignment to move to first base, which honestly is, I've been preaching this for the past few months. I think this would make a lot of sense for his career. His bat is one of the best in baseball. It's not just a good catcher bat. It's easily the best hitting catcher in baseball, who will now be one of the best hitting first basemen in all of baseball. Last year, among all first basemen, he would have ranked second in on-base percentage, second in walk percentage, fourth in slugging percentage, third in WOBA, third in expected WOBA, third in WRC plus among all first basemen. So he's basically a top 3 offensive first baseman. And he did that as a catcher. And so I'm trying to think of, like, if this guy gets off his, like, is not squatting behind the plate most of the year and now gets to be at first base, gets to be a little healthier, a little bit less stress on his knees throughout the season. You get his bat in the lineup instead of 70 games this year, 150 games. I think this is a huge move for an offense that was struggling big time last year. And so love getting Willson Contreras' bat in the lineup more often. I don't get the frustration about not having Luke and Baker playing. Like, I'm just gonna be honest, like, no one with prospect knowledge thinks that Luke and Baker is being like shelved here in a wrong way. Everyone's kind of like, yeah, I guess. I mean, he's a fine bench bat, like, and if he grows into more, cool. But like Willson Contreras, is a top bat in all baseball. Secondly, it moves Ivan Herrera into lineup, or at least it should. Guys, where do you think Ivan Herrera ranked in WRC plus among all Cardinals last year?
First or second.
Second, behind Willson Contreras with the 127.
If Contreras qualifies, yeah.
Well, if they both qualify, because Ivan Herrera, like, so.
Sandy saying to Willson Contreras is my favorite player, as if your favorite player isn't John King, is funny to me. But anyway,
John King is he's my king. But yeah, Willson Contreras should be one of your favorite players. Josh, you're absolutely right.
Yes. So like now you're getting your 2 best hitters in the lineup all the time, which has not been happening with this club. And so I think this is the absolute perfect move for St. Louis here. You get Willson Contreras playing first base every single day. You have Ivan Herrera either catching or DHing more often. Alec Burleson, I'm interested as we talk about what does his playing time look like, but it probably is like a primary DH with a little bit of first base time, maybe some corner outfield, but he probably doesn't play quite every day, but he's probably 130, 140 games a year. But again, you're getting your 2 best bats in the lineup every single day for an offense, again, that struggled big time last year. And again, Willson Contreras and Ivan Herrera both played like 70 games last year. So you're getting like 80 more games a year of these guys. You talk about how this lineup of this team could actually be competitive next year, even with removing people. Even if you probably end up losing a Nolan Arenado this offseason, this lineup, I think, will actually end up being better next year. This pitching staff, there's an argument it could. Oh my gosh. I said I wasn't going to do this last episode, but I think I'm talking myself into them being decent.
Happen.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Did.
Let's like the Cardinals. Let's not be negative.
Okay, here I'm just talking myself into it being possible. I'm not going to bank on them winning 80 something games next year, but I think it's very possible that the lineup is a lot better. The bullpen probably regresses some, but maybe not terribly much. And then the rotation might be better, especially if Sonny Gray is staying. I love this move so much. I'm a huge fan of it. It makes too much sense to me. I mean, do you guys have concerns about the idea? Well, first of all, I'll answer either or both of these. Buster Olney called this a terrible contract because they're already moving him out of catcher. Does that make any sense to you guys?
I don't think Buster Olney watches enough baseball to talk about this as a bad contract. I think Buster Olney is a national media guy who doesn't know what he's talking about when he's talking about the Cardinals here. I'm happy to say that. I'll go on record saying that. I think it's ridiculous to just call this a terrible contract when, as a Cardinal, he's been better than he was in any season of his career with the Cubs. The Cardinals have unlocked something offensively from him. We talk all the time about Cardinals going to other organizations and getting better. Willson Contreras is a great example of that in reverse. He's been a fantastic Cardinal. It's not a bad contract. Also, $18 million is something that teams write off these days. Yeah. When you're talking about, it's not a terrible contract. $18 million for Miles Michaelis is a bad contract. That guy is putting up a 5 ERA. He's maybe staying in games long enough to win some, but he's losing you a lot of games too. This is not a bad contract. Now, if Willson Contreras underperforms for the next 3 years, okay, you can call it a bad contract at the end of that. Right now, though, there's no reason to say that. Contreras, like you said, Josh, is one of the best offensive first baseman if he moves there in all of baseball, and he is moving there. And he's definitely one of the best offensive catchers in the league. I just don't see where you're getting that. Think about the fact that Pete Alonso is right now in some ways comparable hitter to Willson Contreras. Yeah, he's going to hit for more power than Contreras. Alonso has that 50 homer power. Contreras doesn't have that. But when you think about Contreras' ability to hit all fields, to get on base, those are things that maybe Alonso doesn't do quite as well. And people are going to give Alonso a lot more than $18 million. So it's not a bad contract. It's definitely
Contreras also isn't afraid of his own first base coach. But I do think some of the optics from that last year when they threw him under the bus is probably what national media is going for right now. That's kind of all they remember with the Cardinals and Willson Contreras because, to be honest, the Cardinals haven't really been relevant while Willson Contreras has been in a uniform, so they don't really have a reason to watch him play, right? So I feel like they're just looking at the situation from 2023 where they threw him under the bus, and that was an awful situation. Like, obviously, I think we all side with Ferris instead of the front office, but that's not to say that the contract was bad because he's definitely played really well in St. Louis.
Agreed. But also too, like, Contreras is going to be paid as much as Rhys Hoskins next year. And remember how many people were like, great signing by the Brewers for Rhys Hoskins. You're going to tell me that Willson Contreras is a terrible contract, but Rhys Hoskins at $18 million is a great deal? Miss me with that. What is happening? He's going to be this tie for the 65th highest paid player in baseball next year, Willson Contreras. Okay, we're not calling this an albatross contract. We're not calling it a terrible deal, Buster only. That was, I usually these national guys is like whatever, like, but like that was just bad. That was dumb. So out on that one.
You're gonna get blocked, but that's okay.
It's okay. I'm not gonna. That's why I'm not tagging him. I don't need it to be a big deal, but I think it was dumb. Well, I guess I did quote tweet him, but so
yeah, well, it's when you say something that you don't have the proper knowledge of the situation, you should get quote tweeted and you should get called out for it. I think national media guys routinely show that when they're talking about the specifics of teams that aren't necessarily in the mainstream right now, like, yeah, national media guys probably have a good understanding of what's going on in LA or New York or Chicago to some extent, or some of these other bigger markets. But don't come to the St. Louis media space and then just make stuff up.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Also, so I'm seeing some comments about, hey, it's a small sample size for Willson. His career OPS is a lot lower. Okay, if you go back 3 years now, I think Willson Contreras ranks as a top 10 right-handed hitter in all of baseball from back to 2022's last season with the Cubs. And if you put all of basically his last 600 at-bats with the Cardinals, or plate appearances with the Cardinals specifically, it's like a 150 WRC+.
He's been elite. He's elite on
so, like, I understand that his career OPS is a little bit lower, but he's also been catcher. He's developed offensively as a hitter. He's gotten better the last few years. He's really hitting like his prime offensively. So I get that they're smaller-ish sample sizes, but since July 1st of last year, he has been like Shohei Ohtani good at the plate. And that's not like a hyperbole. Go look at it. He's top 10 in all of baseball. I think he's top 7 since July 1st of 2023. So that's not a small sample size at this point. Love Contreras. That bat's awesome. Are you concerned about the defense?
Maybe they'll bring back Flaherty now.
I'm gonna guess not. Are we concerned about the defense at all? Like, is that an issue? Also, Sarah, thanks for becoming a new member of the channel. We really appreciate that. Sarah's always been on streams, big supporter. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, Sarah.
I think Contreras made strides defensively last year as a catcher, so I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna be fine at first base. Any concerns there?
Yeah, I think
Goldie's an all-timer defensively. I feel like he's always picking he makes really good picks, and even if the defensive metrics don't like give him credit for like range or anything, I feel like we're gonna miss Goldie a little bit defensively, but I don't know.
Look, the Cardinals survived.
Catchers are meant to pick those kinds of balls all the time.
Yeah. We survived Jose Martinez at first base. Okay. Like, I think first base defense is overblown sometimes. Like, look at the Mariners. I know they gave Evan White a contract before he ever touched the field because they thought he was going to be like this elite defensive first baseman, and he was, and it didn't matter because he couldn't hit. Defensive first baseman, it's whatever. It's not that important. If you can have someone on the field that can't play defense, first base is a really good spot to put him.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers won the World Series and their first baseman had a broken ankle. So,
yeah, you're going to have like tough moments. He'll probably make a couple extra errors, barring something crazy. I doubt it plays a huge role in the season. I doubt that the Cardinals lose more than one game to poor first base performance. Also, the Cardinals have a really good defensive infield aside from that. Like, Brendan Donovan is a really good utility guy. Mason Wynn is an elite defensive shortstop already. It looks like Thomas Sajazi, he flashed the leather in his cup of coffee this year. So he might be really good too. And if Arenado is still around, he's a good third baseman. You've got a lot of guys that are going to give him opportunities to make good plays. Like, it's not like he's going to be playing in Chicago where who knows what's coming his way. So I'm not super worried about it. I think it's going to be fine. Also, Contreras is athletic. He's hardworking. He's not going to just go out there with no preparation whatsoever. And again, no matter how bad it is, it will never be as bad as Jose Martinez, and we made
it. True. Last time
Mason Wynn will throw him under the bus for missing.
Oh my gosh. All right. Wilson deserves better. St. Louis, this is something where I'm like, I'm not going to bank on it. We shouldn't necessarily go that direction. But like, I think this is the upside, right? Is that you put him at first base and he's going to be even better as a hitter because of the less stress on him. Now, I would even say like right now we should probably bank that he's going to be a little bit worse than he was last year offensively because he was so stinking good. But like a 130 WRC plus catcher instead of the 140 or first baseman instead of the 140 he was this past year would be an awesome asset to this offense, especially now you're getting, again, 550 plate appearances instead of like 300 or whatever he put up this year. Let's do the Arenado segue, and then let's talk about the other guy we do know sounds like he wants to stay, but noticeably absent from the confirmations of the no trade clauses. The one guy that doesn't seem to have at least indicated what he wants to do right now is Mr. Nolan Arenado. And to me, this is a blinking sign screaming both the Cardinals and Nolan Arenado think we should part ways at this point.
Like where? Where is he going to go?
I mean, he's going to have to be open to options at this point because, like, if LA doesn't want him and he wants out, I don't know if that's entirely true, man.
Yeah, I think they could want him.
They desperately wanted him for a long time.
Unless they like cut Muncy, which is not going to happen.
They could trade Muncy
to the Cardinals. I'll take him.
I don't know if they would do that. But...
Back to Colorado.
Oh, but like we see weird bats get moved all the time that are worse than Max Muncy. So like, I mean, in the Dodgers, like the Cardinals are not that team that gets creative where they'll trade for one contract and trade off another. But like the Dodgers are a team like they did that with Manuel Margot, right? They brought him in at the Tyler Glasnow deal, and they basically salary dumped him to the Twins. I could totally see them going to get Nato and then trying to figure out what to do with Max Muncy through that. So I definitely think the Dodgers thing has to still be an option, but like Houston, Philadelphia, I mean, the Angels weirdly want to compete. So if he wants to go back to
Kyle Hendricks is gone. It's great, but we face him in the first series or first week of the season, which is that's great.
If the Angels are smart, they would start him opening day.
No, they're starting him. They need to start him.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Cardinals.
Yes. You're right. I mean,
and then cut him. Like after that, he's not worth anything to you because you're not playing the Cardinals.
They only pay him $3 million. Mariners. He can go to like the Mariners.
I was going to suggest them. The Mariners just moved on from Eugenio Suarez, and Suarez was on kind of a larger deal. It doesn't feel too different from the Arenado contract. And while Arenado's contract is an albatross, it's kind of already peaked in terms of like how bad it could be, right? Like Arenado, I don't know how much worse he could be than he was in 2023 or this year. Like, I don't think he's going to be worse than league average as a hitter necessarily. And he's still going to play good defense through the rest of this deal. You know what the worry is with him, I guess, at the moment. So
did you read the MLBTR trade rankings? They put Arenado as like the 10th most valuable trade asset this offseason.
That's kind of crazy.
And they kind of put that case out there of like there is the risk, which is why you're not gonna get a lot from him, that he continues to regress. But the contract number going down each year, his defense being really good, but then still really good. It's not what it was before, but it's still good. His bat, he's a high average hitter at this point. He hits 15 to 20 home runs, and there's the chance he gets more power back. And honestly,
he's a great change of scenery candidate too.
Yeah, I could totally see him in a good offense like the Dodgers being really like, again, we're not talking MVP candidate.
Make another all-star team though.
Yeah, but like a 115, 120 WRC plus, and then he's also playing good.
Perfect candidate to win NLCS MVP next year.
When the lights are bright, I don't know if he's on, but like during the regular season, I can see
it's such a small. That's not fair. It's a small sample size.
I was thinking about that.
That's the rules. Him or Edmonds going to do it again.
That's true. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have like Jack
Flaherty. Makes sense in Arizona potentially.
Yeah, I think they might be trying to cut payroll. So I don't know.
How much of Rendon's contract do the Angels have to eat to consider it? Because Rendon has one less year than Arenado.
Honestly, I don't think they care about Rendon at this point. I don't think you mess with that at all. Like he should not even he shouldn't block you from doing anything aside from the money.
Yeah, I think the Angels
Rendon and like a couple prospects if the Angels eat half of it.
Oh, the Angels eat a ton of money, sure. Especially if you get stuff in return. But here's the point I wanted to transition to from Kareem though. If Arenado does get traded, I think Donnie plays third base. I agree with that. I think you
It's
see
fine with
Brendan
me.
Donovan becomes the primary third baseman at that point. He can bounce around, but like I don't think you move Gorman back there at this point, especially with your question marks about him. And and it makes more sense to have that Sid JC Gorman kind of platoon at second base, with Sid JC being the backup at shortstop, third base, second base, but also can platoon a little bit second base there. Newton left, Walker right, Scott in center, Contreras at first, Herrera catching and DHing, Burleson DHing some. I think we're starting to see what this position player group could come together. But if they are moving on from Arenado, though, like Andrew or Sandy, do you guys like the idea of a Brendan Donovan at third base? It feels like what people have kind of like Derek Gould. I think he's always really good about in chats, maybe not even before he reports something, kind of giving what he thinks will happen. And he keeps highlighting how Donovan's a good defensive third baseman. I mean, but do you see it maybe being a Gorman? Do you see it like the problem with Bill putting Donovan in left field is, I mean, you got to get Nootbaar there and Walker's going to be an outfielder. But like, are you guys of the weird contingent that says Walker should be the third baseman? Are you a Gorm? Are you the JC third baseman?
No.
Walker is first base secondary in MLB The Show. I'm not going to lie. When I saw that, I was like, oh no, people are
third base secondary or first base?
Both. He actually does.
He's never even played.
I know, which is weird.
Well, and he hasn't played third base since he was like not allowed to vote.
And he like wasn't a good defensive third baseman.
No, he wasn't. He was he was 17 when he was playing third base last regularly. He was in high school.
Well, he did in the minors for a little bit.
Yeah, for like what, half a season before the Cardinals decided.
I think it was a year and a half. They did it a little late because they traded for Arenado and then so, but yeah, it still has been a while.
Yeah, regardless, it just wouldn't make any sense to throw him back there. And the other thing is, look, it's said that it's easier to move away from the plate than towards the plate. If you're someone that has struggled with a move from the infield to the outfield, and by the way, you weren't a very good infielder to begin with, how are you going to react by getting closer to the ball? It's way hard. I think the infield positions are harder to play in general. Center field's different because you get so many chances and you have so much range. But it's very difficult to move towards the infield. I can't see them trying that with Walker. Also, with Jordan Walker, at this point, like the best thing for him is stability. It's very clear that instability, just throwing him around, doing this, doing that, letting him, not letting him platoon, like that has not been good for him.
Give him a year in right field. If it doesn't work out, then I don't know, trade Contreras and DH him.
That's the other thing about the Contreras side of things is like there's a world where they're like really bad next year, and at the deadline Contreras is mashing, and then he's open to a trade.
Well, and then he brings back a lot. Like if Contreras is crushing it as a first baseman with control, and like for example, a club like Milwaukee, let's say, I don't know if the Cardinals would trade in Division Milwaukee. I don't know if they care actually.
Let's say Washington.
Yeah, if Washington is overachieving next year and they're like, man, we need a first baseman that we can lock in with our young hitters because, gosh, James Woods, CJ Abrams, they're going to be good eventually. Dylan Cruz, like they're going to be good sometime. And if they need a guy that they can lock in as that veteran presence and Contreras is available, like that could be a big return. Or I think Milwaukee, again, like you saw them sign Rhys Hoskins. That did not go well. If they need someone they can lock in because he's cost controlled, $18 million. It's just not that much. That's like barely more than the Cardinals paid Kyle Gibson.
65th highest paid player in baseball.
Not that much. Pretending it's an albatross is crazy. People pay guys to be bad for that amount of money all the time. It is just not absurd. It's far less than Montgomery got paid by the Diamondbacks to be terrible. It's a different position, and pitching's different than position players.
Here's some guys that make more than Willson Contreras next year. I pulled the list a little bit earlier. Michael Wacha is going to make his him, so interesting. Jose Barrios, Yoshida, Stroman, Giolito.
What a joke.
Castellanos, Musgrove, Suzuki.
But guys, I'm a national guy, and I said it's an albatross. So
Anthony Rendon's making like twice that. He's not going to play.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Mike Trout's making like twice that. He's probably not going to play either. Actually, I want to see him play, but
I don't understand the idea that it's stupid. I can't get it.
Yeah, Javier Baez is probably making twice that. I don't know.
No, more than that, not twice. Dansby Swanson's making way more than that to be a below average hitter.
Yeah.
Talk about
Let's finish up. Yeah, before we'll continue this conversation because I think we should talk a little bit more about the other guy who we kind of know is staying and then potentially the ramifications of all of this at this point, because that's the hardest part about this offseason so far is it's like we need one domino to fall so we can start to see where the other one's going to go, because depending on what happens with one or two guys, it just changes the whole dynamic. So the Willson Contreras dynamic and the Sonny Gray dynamic, which we'll get into, is giving us a lot of interesting parts of things. So at this point, but let's go ahead and thank a couple of our sponsors of the podcast, though. Our presenting sponsor, 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet. They're open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards. They have the newest selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local players and stars around the league. So make sure to go check out 314. They're just an awesome sponsor of this podcast. Oh man. Okay. I guess in a second, Andrew, when you describe the giveaway, I'll go get my little surprise and I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I've got it with me. So I'll do it. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Did you already open it? Or?
No, I haven't. So I'll open.
Okay. So 314 has been nice enough to give us.
I gotta go get it.
Okay,
oh, you're gonna do the giveaway. Okay.
A giveaway item. You see this baseball right here is signed by a two-way player, not the two-way player, but it's signed by Mason Wynn, which is pretty cool. And we're giving this away on Twitter to celebrate 3,000 subscribers. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see below we're not at 3,000 subscribers quite yet. But as soon as we reach 3,000 subscribers, we'll be giving this away on our Twitter. Go to our Twitter right now. All you have to do is follow us and repost a certain post. It should be pinned by now. And if you guys do that, we'll give away this baseball as soon as we hit 3,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already subscribed, so we can give this away as quickly as possible. We're really excited because otherwise I just get to keep it if we don't hit 3,000.
Until there's 3,000 subscribers, Andrew just looks at the Mason Wynn ball on his shelf every morning.
Yeah, so there you go.
Okay,
but we'll come back after that. Oh, you have
real quick. I'll open one of them and then maybe save one for the future. We're gonna see if I can get a Caleb Williams at some point. It's from Alec Ginter card sets. There's 6 cards in each. They're mostly baseball cards, but apparently there's some NFL cards mixed in here. So I'll let you guys can see with me who I'm getting, and then we want to thank our other sponsor of the podcast as well. So first one.
Who's that?
Harold Baines.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the
Julio Rodriguez. Kind of
Okay.
nice. Let's see. Is that Nestor?
Thanks, Nestor, for
Thanks, Nestor.
That's upside down.
Let's see. Lou Gehrig. Interesting.
Very cool.
That's not a baseball player.
Eddie Binkenridge. Yeah, no idea who that is. And then the Salt Lake City in Turin. What? It's like the Winter Olympics.
It's a weird set, but you're looking for this card, right?
Yep. I'll see if I can rip it at some point. So I'll rip some more later, but I want to thank our other sponsor of the podcast. You've seen there's a QR code throughout this, but it's Smith Agri-Service. It's a family-owned independent realtor providing farmers in Missouri, Illinois, and Iowa with competitive pricing on Corteva, BASF, generic brand crop protection products, and Burvent corn and soybean seed. So you can scan that QR code that's been on our screen the entire podcast, and it gets you to send them a direct message. Or you can text the number on the screen now, 202-988-1106, or email them at smithag@irtc.net. Words are hard. We really appreciate the support from Smith Agri-Service, and we hope that if you're in the agriculture business, that you go check them out, let them know we sent you. Even just just see what kind of deals they have on stuff right now. You never know what a partnership there can look like. So maybe I'll rip one more as we're talking, but yeah, please do that giveaway, like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton. We're really excited about the charity stream that's coming up. Andrew, I don't know if you talked about that at all already.
Yeah, we're doing our charity live stream, also partnered with 314 Sports Cards. We are going to be in person at the shop on December 19th. That'll be really fun. Still working out some of the details for that. Got some exciting guests coming on for it as well, including PCA, man. I like PCA.
So good against the Cardinals. Very well against the Cardinals.
But we got 2 guests already lined up for that. Kareem will be joining us.
Wait, let me opt out real quick and then opt back in.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Bernie Michaelis will be joining us for that, and so will Kareem. So lots of other announcements to come, obviously. We had a lot of awesome guests on last time. That's just the start, but we're excited for who we got already.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ton of fun. We hope you guys show up. If you're in the St. Louis area, come to 314 and come for the live pod. The charity stream, we'll have a bunch of guests, hopefully some in person, some via StreamYard and all of that. But again, really excited for it. We appreciate the support a ton last year and excited to give you some more announcements with that in the near future. So Yeah, let's continue the conversation. So the other big kind of piece of this is Sonny Gray apparently wants to stay in St. Louis. It doesn't seem like it's for sure he won't be traded, but he's at least been showing an openness to stay for now. I think I just want to, Andrew, like, what do you think about the idea of the Cardinals keeping Sonny Gray?
I mean, if Sonny Gray wants to stay, then Sonny Gray wants to stay, right? Like, there's nothing the Cardinals can do about that because he has the full no trade clause. I think it's fine. Obviously, it gives the rotation a lot more upside. He had a really weird season this year where his strikeout rate was at an all-time high, but his home run rate was also at an all-time high. Don't really know what happened there, but I still think he's capable of doing really well in the St. Louis rotation next year. You didn't bring back Lynn and Gibson, whatever, right? Like, I feel like that just kind of raised the floor of your rotation. And if you're going to give some of those young guys opportunities, say McGreevy becomes what we really think he can be. Let's say Palante stays just as good and you find another arm somewhere. Maybe Liberatore finally figures it out in the rotation. Maybe Graceffo's good. Maybe any of the AAA arms are good. Maybe Mo is wrong about that. Maybe their pitching lab is going to fix one of those guys to become like a legit starting pitcher. Because, other organizations find those guys, right? Like, they might not be viewed as highly in the Cardinals organization, the pitching prospects, but if you let Heimblum cook long enough, maybe he'll find somebody there. And Eric Fetty's still around. He hopefully, I don't know, he'll probably be traded, but you have him, you have Michaelis, I guess, whatever. Steven Matt's still there. Hey, maybe you re-sign James Nail, and he's really good. He's like Eric Fetty.
No.
But
let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
Eno Cyrus just liked my tweet calling out Buster.
Oh no.
Hey, real quick, Katie's confirming from her end that her sources are also saying Sonny Gray is the other player who wants to stay in St. Louis right now. But it is notable that she said that Mozeliak indicated at least one more player besides Contreras said he wants to stay with a no trade clause, and that's Sonny. So that
if it's Miles Michaelis, I'm going to be really sad.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
It's a nothing burger at the
Arenado.
Sonny Gray truther over here. I also feel like I'm a Sonny Gray truth light, but like
I don't think he is anymore. He wanted.
I'm still. Wait, hold up. I think it makes baseball sense for the Cardinals to consider trading Sonny Gray, but it doesn't mean I don't like Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
I'm really happy if Sonny Gray stays. First off, it means my jersey investment was a good investment. Second, it would be devastating if they just traded him and I couldn't wear that. But second, I think it's good because the Cardinals are going to win more games if Sonny Gray's at the top of their rotation. And I want the Cardinals to be at least semi-competitive. I don't want to watch a team that's out of it by May. That would really stink. I don't want to watch 2023 again. And honestly, I don't want to watch 2024 again. And I think there's a chance that this season, at least if they're going to have a similar win total to 2024, like at least it'll be more fun, because they will win more games. Well, they will win some games and they will do it with a more fun team. It's not going to be like Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson and these old guys going out there. It could be Michael McGreevy and Andre Palante, and they're going to get a whole season worth of work. Like, and that's something I'm excited about. Hopefully we see bigger contributions from Walker and Gorman next year. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I think this is a good move for the Cardinals. You kind of can't go wrong. Yeah, fat chance of that. It'd be nice. But you kind of can't go wrong with Sonny Gray, because if you keep him, you're going to win more games. He's going to be good. He's a solid pitcher. And if you move on from him, you probably get something good back in return. It's not like Ryan Helsley, where keeping him would be foolish.
For sure.
The other thing about Sonny Gray, Andrew, you said he had a weird season, and I just want to second that. Sonny Gray had what was the third lowest whip of his entire career last year. It was actually like 0.6 lower than his second place Cy Young season in 2023. The only time he was better than this, he finished top 10 in Cy Young voting with Oakland in his second full season and with Cincinnati in 2019, when I thought he should have gotten far more Cy Young support. He was awesome that year. The big thing for him was the home run rate was up, but the strikeout rate was way up. The walk rate was down.
Second all of baseball, the strikeout rate.
Yeah, and the walk rate was way down. 2.1 per 9 is actually 0.6 lower than it was last year, which is awesome. And that led to really good advanced metrics. Even though his ERA was only 109, which is one of the lowest of his career, he had one of the best FIPS of his entire career at 3.12. It was actually only 0.3 away from the 2.83 that led all of baseball last year. Sonny Gray is still a guy that's more than capable of producing. And I think if not for some weird stuff, I think he missed over the heart of the plate too much last year. It's definitely fair to call him out for that. and say that that's something that needs to change because, if you only miss a few times, but when you miss big, that's the recipe to the Miles Michaelis. That's the recipe to the Miles Michaelis season. But Sonny Gray is not going to be that. Sonny Gray is going to be good again. And I think there's a really good chance that his ERA looks better next year if he just does the same thing he did this year. He got very unlucky to have an ERA as high as it was with as good as he was at generating strikeouts, limiting walks, keeping the ball on the ground. He just had a couple of homers that got out. And it was an unsustainable home run to fly ball rate, especially when you're thinking about a guy playing in St. Louis where the park factor is so pitcher friendly.
Yeah, Jackie makes a great point here. The expectations when you have Contreras and Sonny Gray versus when you scrap all these guys, you've got a young team with no expectations versus an old team with playoff expectations that's going to let you down. Like, go into the season next year and the Cardinals win 78 games. That's kind of like, no one's going to be shocked by that. And it's not going to be 2023. We're all like, what the heck happened? We're like, okay, this is part of the plan. If they win 84 games and they sneak into the playoffs, like this year it took like 89, 88, but the year before it took 84, like, it's going to be an exciting team. We're like, oh man, this young team is young. It's ascending. They did it in a year where they're not even investing in payroll yet. So imagine when they actually add bats and they're getting year 2 of Quinn Matthews and year 4 of Walker. Like, I mean, if they win mid-80s games, it's because these young guys panned out. Sonny Gray leading this rotation next year with the potential of Quinn Matthews entering the equation and Andre Palante, like this rotation goes from super mid to pretty exciting where we're not at all talking about top 10 rotation in baseball, but you've got the pieces now, right? Like McGreevy and Palante could be a really solid 4-5 for you. A Quinn Matthews could be a 3-2 type. A Sonny Gray's a 2. And it's like, okay, like young ascending rotation. You've got a Sonny Gray as someone who could guide this pitching staff and be a guy who pours into and mentors a Quinn Matthews, mentors a Michael McGreevy, mentors a Tink Hence when he enters the equation. I think that's huge. If Sonny Gray was open to facilitating a trade right now, I think you shop him and you see what you can get, but there's no reason to force a trade at this point. I think they were in the perfect position where it's like, hey, if Atlanta wants to offer us something amazing for him, we're going to take it. Or the Reds want to do that, we're going to take it. But otherwise, if he wants to stay here, keep him. Let him lead this rotation. And then also to double down on your points there, Sonny, oh my gosh, I did that last season all the time, Sandy. It's back. Oh my gosh, I get made fun of at work for this all the time where they're just like, you don't know names. Anyways, the home run rate was terrible. Yeah, it was out of control. But then also his away splits were really bad this year. I think he was like a low to mid 2s ERA at home, and then it was excellent at home. So like, again, we're not like, I'm not trying to act like he's going to win Cy Young next year, but to be in the low to mid 3 ERA range, I think is totally within range outcomes for great. And then again, like Willson Contreras, deadline comes around, Cardinals aren't in it. You approach Sonny Gray again, you say, hey, like, do you still want to be a part of this? You still committed to this? Or do you want to be the best rental arm by far available on the trade market potentially? Because like, think about the last few deadlines. There really aren't big stud pitchers available. So you've got options. The Mosaic talked about a few weeks ago. They want to have flexibility, and that's why they decline the options of a Gibson, Lynn, Middleton. This is part of that flexibility too. Is you like the trade timeline for Ryan Helsley and Eric Fetty should be this offseason. But Gray and Contreras, you can kick that can down the road a little bit and you can move them later or keep them to be a part of this transition year and the core of 2026 and beyond. So again, I also think it's really interesting that Sonny Gray and Willson Contreras are smart dudes. They're not idiots. And for them to look at what the Cardinals are doing right now and be like, I want to stick this out. I want to be a part of this. That's really exciting to me. And again, I feel like it tells me that they're bought into the vision of this team. I also think it tells you they're bought into the manager to an extent. Like it tells you that they like this club and where it's going. And I think they want to prove people wrong. I don't think Sonny Gray and Willson Contreras want to lose next year. I don't think they're like, we know we'll only win 70 games next year. They're probably like, we're trying to make the playoffs. 100%. And I think that's like the opposite of last year. I mean, they had a chip on their shoulder going into last year, but it was kind of, there was also some pride with it. And anyways, low ceiling team. This is a team that might have a slightly better ceiling, probably about the same though, but the expectations just aren't on them anymore. And hopefully that unleashes the young bats and young arms a little bit. I'm getting excited about this team. I'm not going to sit here and act like they're a playoff team, but again, the Sonny Gray side of things, I think is really important.
Man, you guys are talking yourselves into a playoff team again.
No.
Well, no. A fun team. It's absolutely within the range of outcomes.
I know. I
It's
just don't.
totally
I don't
possible.
see this team doing a Tigers because they don't have a Tarek Skubal. They don't have a guy like Sonny Gray. Isn't that?
Yeah,
Tarek
but
Skubal
also their
wasn't that
lineup
before
was so
this year
bad.
either. Tarek Skubal was good, but he wasn't that before this year. Like, let's
Yeah, he
pump the
was.
brakes
He
on
was last season. I think.
No, he
second
was.
half.
He was not the same pitcher he was this year.
He had like
There
a
were
second
makings-
half that was
There were the
really
makings of that pitcher, but Tarek Skubal was not like coming into the year. I know
Sonny
Josh
Gray
Hader
also
win
isn't like
Cy Young, but we
26.
were not in the mainstream in that. We're just smart.
Sonny Gray's not like 26.
Sonny Gray finished second in Cy Young voting 2 years ago. It's not like he can't be an ace. He's finished in the top 3 of Cy Young voting twice in his career. He's been in the top 10 3 times. This guy is a really good pitcher. He's been to the All-Star game multiple times. He's a good pitcher. He's more than capable of being an ace.
And it's going to be a weak NL Central again, probably. Like, sure, the Cubs might do something. The Pirates are ascending. The Reds, I don't know.
The Pirates have that arm. The Pirates definitely have that arm.
Well, like, what did that do the Pirates last year to have that good arm? It's not
nothing.
just about having that arm. You have to have all the other pieces too. And the Tigers just got insanely hot for a month. Like, again, I'm not sitting here trying to, and I don't want to do it because I don't want to get mean for it. I'm not going to sit here and act like the Cardinals are a playoff team, but it's in the range of outcomes. It's very low.
And the difference between some of the teams that made the playoffs and the Cardinals is not crazy. Like, if the Cardinals been in the AL, they would have been in the playoff race until the last week of the season. The NL had a really
they lost their only series to the White Sox, so I wouldn't go that far.
Okay,
Eric Fetty.
Okay, that's crazy. Had the Cardinals been in the AL and won the same number of games they won, they would have been alive until the last 5 games of the year, which is something that was not true for them in the NL because they had teams like the Mets and the Braves and the Padres that were all better than the middle of the pack teams in the American League, which is worth noting. Also, the NL could definitely take a step back next year. I think the Mets could take a step back. Like, there are some teams that could get worse. The Diamondbacks, if they're trying to shed payroll, they could get worse too. That race could be more open than it was this year.
And the Brewers are probably about to lose Willie Adames and Devin Williams too, which I know they've been.
You're talking yourself out of the Brewers again, and this is how things.
I am because at some point,
I'm the only one of us that would
everyone. It'd be good.
This is like back in the day where I picked the Rays to miss the playoffs like 8 years in a row, and they made the playoffs every year. This is just how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
But the point is, like, the difference between the Cardinals and those teams wasn't insane. And I think if Tommy Edman had played this year, like, I think if Contreras had been healthy, the Cardinals easily could have won 3 or 4 more games.
Yeah.
They easily could have won 3 or 4. And also, like, if you play the games again, they may win 3 or 4 more. Like, there's a little bit of randomness in a schedule this big.
I argue they lose a lot more because their run differential is just so bad.
That's fair.
Teams with really good bullpens can sustain worse run differentials than teams without them, though. When you have a guy like Ali Marmol pulling the right strings and a bullpen like the one the Cardinals had, it's a little more understandable. The Cardinals would go down big. Specifically,
I feel like they got really lucky with that this year. I don't know.
I don't know if they got that lucky. I don't know if
you also got unlucky with you also got the Goldschmidt regression. You got the Arenado regression. You got the Nolan Gorman falling off. Walker, Newbar being hurt again.
Contreras being hurt twice.
So, like, there's a lot of things that went wrong last year beyond. And so, like, again, some of that they should have seen coming, but also, like, for all those things to happen was kind of like, well, and they still won 84 games. Like, all those things didn't happen and they won 71 games. Like, that was 2023. All those things happened and they still were not, like, only like 6 games out of the playoffs and they gave up at the end. Like,
they were a team above 500. Like a lot of organizations, that's their goal.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm a little bit worried about right now when it comes to the trades that they're not going to do is Derek Gould's kind of like not really thrown much on the fire of Eric Fetty being available. And that frustrates me because him and Helsley should be 1 and 2 the most tradable players on this roster because they don't have no trade clause. Ryan Helsley's going to get you a ton, and Eric Fetty's going to get you something valuable. There's no point in having Eric Fetty on your roster. You have a market inefficiency there that you targeted there. Did the value for you with Eric Fetty is as a trade piece, but for like the Dodgers of the world, the value there is like, oh, we can pay him $7.5 million to give us 30 starts. That's huge. I think you have to trade a guy like that rather than forcing a Michaelis trade or even a Matz trade. I'd rather let that money fly off my books because I'm not getting anything for them. Maybe something little for Matz.
I'd trade Matz and Fetty if you could.
Yeah, I would be open to moving Matz, but like, I'm afraid what that's going to happen is Michaelis is going to ask out and they're going to facilitate some kind of like salary dump and they're going to move on from Matz, but then they're going to keep Fetty. And I'm like, Fetty's the one that gets you real value back.
I would rather them trade all 3 of them than not trade Fetty in any scenario. Like, I'd rather just say screw it, trade all 3 of them, and risk not having
Well,
enough.
you have to bring in extra help then, but
It's fine. But
Yeah.
I'd rather
Feddy's
do that.
better.
I'd rather do that than lose.
Hey, if you're going to trade Feddy to the Dodgers, I know just the guy they could get back.
Oh no. Oh no.
Shot.
But
Not
like
that
at this
guy,
point,
but-
I feel like you trade Fetty and you have Gray, Palante, and I mean, so let's say they do the Mats thing too. But I think you can probably just keep him at this point. But let's say you trade him, you have Gray, Palante, Michaelis, because just someone has to make starts. McGreevy, and then you let people fight for that fifth rotation spot. Whether it's the guy they claimed off waivers, probably a reliever, but I mean, you can let them fight for it. Liberatore, Thompson, Quinn Matthews, Gordon Graceffo, Adam Coffenstein, Semmer Bursa, let those guys fight for it. And again, like the goal isn't necessarily winning next year, so you're not necessarily terrible. Like you're not too worried about having depth there. I think if you traded all those guys though, Sandy, like I think you do need to bring in another arm because I don't want to force Quinn Matthews into the rotation with Tim Kent's yet. But I do not understand keeping Fetty.
But yeah, I agree with you. They've got to trade Eric Fetty.
So who knows? Maybe DrewRom.com gets non-tendered in the near future. We'll see.
I thought you meant he would turn into a solid arm, and then the Orioles would be like, "Man, we gave up Jack Flaherty for that guy," and then they would be like,
"Oh, speaking of, we gave up that arm for another Sandy Alcantara right there." So, Andrew, I'll trade you this Freddie Freeman for the Caleb Williams.
I mean, I was just going to give you the Caleb Williams.
I just can't believe.
Oh, okay, I'll just take it.
Can't believe the Cardinals traded away Luke Weaver because. You know how stupid it was of them to not know that he was going to be like a really good reliever with starter potential in 2025.
He's not going to have starter potential. There's no way.
Those idiots in our front office, they should have kept him. They should have seen all this coming. They should have seen it coming that even though he would be bad with the
you can't even get through without laughing.
And Yankees and Diamondbacks and Mariners and Reds, he would be really good with the Yankees in 2024. I can't believe they didn't see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing too, that Kearney brought up with Fetty, like he is going to bring something in return. I went back and looked, and Chris Bassett is a great comp for this. He had 1 year of control remaining. It was about $8 million in arbitration. The Mets gave up their 5th ranked prospect and like a lottery ticket throw-in prospect to get him from the A's that offseason. And I think again, if you're getting another club's like 5th ranked prospect, where it's like again, it's not someone special, but I think you might be able to get a little more than that for Fetty. That helps build the farm system strength up, right? Like I think you capitalize on that kind of stuff. To Kareem's point, I'm not banking on him being even better next year and then trying to flip him at the deadline. Like his value is probably at an all-time high. So anyways, anything else we want to talk about today other than, I mean, we'll probably have some more tidbits by the next time we record, but some interesting stuff today.
Yeah. Subscribe. We have a Mason Win giveaway if you're just tuning in.
Well, we're giving away Mason Win?
No. Signed Mason Win baseball, courtesy of 314 Sports Cards. So appreciate them for that. And yeah, no, if I would take Mason Win and turn him into a starter.
It's terrible.
Oh boy. Anyways, we really appreciate the support as always. Like and subscribe. It helps the channel a ton. If you subscribe, you get you have to reply to our tweet on Twitter with the proof of subscription to get entered into the giveaway with that. But yeah, then you're entering a giveaway for the signed Mason Win baseball. We'll give that away once we hit 3,000 subscribers. Always appreciate the support. Thanks a ton. Again, like and subscribe on the way out, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Thanks, Willson.